It's time to place your bets. Welcome in everybody to Betting Pros. It's me, Joey P. Joe Pisapia. Sorry about the delay, but we are here for you right now talking about Thursday night football. Derek Brown and I are going to break down the Browns and the Steelers. And I know what you're thinking. This is not a very exciting game, perhaps. Maybe I'm not so interested in watching Jacoby Brissett or Mitchell Trubisky. But what we can do is we can make some wagers on the game. We can talk about the game here and maybe get some investments to make us a little bit more invested in Thursday night football. How you feel about that prospect, Derek Brown?
I love it. I actually really love this game from a betting perspective. I think a lot of these lines are set because this game on the outside looking in is just, it's kind of yuck. So I think some of these lines are a little bit lower than they should be. So not always the case, especially on Thursday nights where I'm sitting here telling you to bet overs and such. But I think there's money to be had in this game by chasing some overs.
And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Betting Pros YouTube channel. Click that little bell till it goes ding for notifications because we're here every Monday, every Thursday on the live streams, breaking it down. We got Sunday live streams. We got it all for all of your wagering needs. And make sure you like this little show we're doing here and share it around the spots because we're growing here at Betting Pros. And of course, bettingpros.com is a place to get all the best content for your wagering as well. Now, look, I know we kind of joked about the quarterback matchups tonight, and rightfully so, but let's talk about narrative a little bit because the Cleveland Browns lost to the Jets in a big way last week. They had closed-door meetings. I think that the Cleveland Browns are going to show up for this game. I really do. It's a short week where Pittsburgh's got to travel. Pittsburgh looks all kind of, discombobulated. This is not the Steelers we're used to seeing. The number here on this game is 4. Cleveland, of course, being favored at home in the short week. So talk to me about your thoughts on Pittsburgh getting 4 in this game. Would you go for the 4, or do you think that this game is closer than people realize?
No, I'm actually going to stay away from that number. I'm chasing the Steelers money line. I think that they win this game. I know all the reasons that you just laid out here, Joe, but the other part of this is that considering Trubisky's play up to this point, he's got to put some numbers up. He's got to get another W in the bag, or maybe we're going to see some Kenny Pickett at some point soon. So I think that the Steelers are going to be fired up as well. Interdivision game, and Mike Tomlin's never going to let his squad walk into that and not be pumped up for it. As well as you look at some of the injuries and things that are going to factor in here. Myles Garrett's not 100%. Chase Winovich is out. Davian Clowney is out. I think those defensive line matchups and the fact that the Browns secondary is not playing good. Greedy Williams being on the IR is playing into this. I think the Steelers, look, I don't think we get plus money on the Steelers money line, and I'm willing to sit here and bet that.
I understand that. The money line is plus 170, so that's a pretty good number on it. But I'm going the other route. Without TJ Watt, this defense is not the same for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I can't get there. He creates the chaos that creates the turnovers. And if they're not getting those turnovers right now, this offense isn't good enough to score too many points, in my opinion, to really win this football game. I think the Browns will find a way to win here. Again, I get it. Last week, things did not look good for them. I know Nick Chubb looked very good, and that's the one thing, too. And Najee Harris hasn't looked good. They haven't really done anything on offense that you can hang your hat on right now, Pittsburgh. So the number's 4. I'll tell you this. I think that the plus 4 on the Pittsburgh side, you could sell me on that. But I can't sell me on the Pittsburgh Steelers winning outright. So I'll take the 4 points and the Steelers. I actually had some more time to think about this. I was more on the Cleveland side, but the 4 points is enough where I don't think anybody's blowing anybody out. But here's the thing. The number is 38 in the over-under. Now, that is a very low number. I see 40. I'm very excited. I'm running to the over. Can these two teams get over this 38, though? This is a very low bar for them to stick their head over.
I think they can. And you laid out the case on the Pittsburgh side as far as TJ Watt not being there, some of the injuries and things. I think I've just laid out the case for the Browns defense is not what we've seen. They've been downgraded. They're not playing good right now. I think we both made the case that you should be chasing the over. Both of these offenses can be disgusting, but if the defenses are playing even worse, there's points to be had.
And I see Dominic agrees with you too. Dominic, who's watching the stream, made a comment here. He thinks the Steelers might sneak one. I ain't that close.
Let's go, Dominic. Let's go.
I'll take the plus 4 on the Steelers side on this one. All right. So let's continue on and let's look at the prop bets here for this one. And of course, the prop bet cheat sheet's available on bettingpros.com, where if you don't know what it is already, I'm telling you, go check it out. You'll click on the little tab there and you'll get the prop bet cheat sheet, which gives you the best variance in terms of the prop bet that's on the board, the fantasy projection for those numbers, and then the best place to get the best odds. So basically, we're handing you the answers to the test, at bettingpros.com with the prop bet cheat sheet. So take advantage of it. We're going to take advantage of it right now. We're going to go ahead and look at some numbers that D-Bros pulled for us. And let's start here with George Pickens. Now, George Pickens, because he's always open, that's great, but Mitch Trubisky is still the guy throwing him the football. The number is 27.5. The projection's at 30.5. You want to go over this? You like this projection, and do you like this over?
I do. So I wrote this game up. The Thursday Night Primer is live on fantasypros.com. And when I was going through all of this, and then before we got onto the show, Joe, I went over to bettingpros.com and I'm looking down the cheat sheet and I'm like, oh, we're simpatico, baby. I love this number because the thing about it is that George Pickens, his ADOT is at 21 yards, man. He's got to catch what? Maybe just one pass to go over this number. We're talking about a disgusting game environment and some of these numbers being a little bit lower considering I love marrying these prop lines with wide receiver ADOT sometimes and projected target volumes. It's like if he gets 2 targets with a 21 ADOT, he catches one of them, he's probably going over it. Hell, if he catches 2, he's going to smash the over.
Now, I know Jason here brings up a good point, too, about the winds. I would say we're from the passing props because winds are supposed to be 20 miles an hour. Now, here's the thing about the winds. Gusts and constant are 2 different things. So when the wind gusts to 21 miles an hour, it's when you're looking for those constant winds. That's when passing becomes very difficult, which is something we've seen in Cleveland. A couple of years ago, remember those 2 games that Baker Mayfield a couple of years ago could not physically throw the football? It was so bad over there. So it could be a problem, especially this time of year, right on the water. It's something to keep an eye on, but I don't know about that. Let's continue on here. Let's go Deontay Johnson. His number is 53.5 for tonight. So if we already like Pickens, can you like Johnson too?
I do. Our projection over Betting Pros has it barely over at 54.1. Again, I think that he can get over this number. You're looking at a wide receiver for Pittsburgh that's sniffing a 30% target share. Doesn't matter if it was old Big Ben or if it's Trubisky, he's still getting fed the rock. So if I'm talking about the cornerbacks are not playing good, he's going to get a bevy of targets. I think that this number, because of how gross this game looks on paper, is too low for the projected volume for Deontay Johnson.
All right, fair enough. Let's switch gears. Let's talk a little bit about the Cleveland Browns here. Kareem Hunt getting a lot of action, and I love that you always pull out some low numbers because the low numbers are the easy numbers sometimes, and this one seems really easy for a guy that could work in the passing game the way Kareem Hunt can. 15.5 seems awfully low to me. This would be my smash. This is my number 1 on the board myself, so I assume you're on the over as well on the 15.5 Kareem Hunt receiving yards.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. This is where you should be starting your parlays. This is the backbone bet. This is the one where you should be starting immediately because Kareem Hunt, look, Betting Pros has him projected for 20 yards. This is a really, really good matchup. Pittsburgh has been good versus the run game. What they haven't been good at is versus receiving backs. They're bottom 7. Kareem Hunt, we've seen him get tons of usage. And going back to Jason's comment, if the wind is an issue, then what is Brissett going to do with his pop gun arm? He's going to check it down to Kareem Hunt. So I love the over in this one.
Yeah, me too. Pat Freiermuth, another one of my favorite guys. Just 3.5 receptions. That's the number for him in this one. Trubisky is that one thing that he seems more comfortable with is actually checking down to the tight end. And Freiermuth's a real good football player. To me, you try your best to, make these reads simple for him. And 3.5, I think this is an over for me too. But what are your thoughts on Pat Freiermuth's number?
Betting Pros agrees with me. He's projected at 4.3. And I think that this number, again, talking about the game environment, did nobody see Pat Freiermuth's target share in week 1? Did betting analysts not see that? Like, this over is an easy bet for me. Again, when you marry that with versus a Cleveland Browns defense, that's bottom 5, bottom 7 off the top of my head versus tight ends. I think Freiermuth's going to get fed the ball.
Yeah, he's had 10 targets, 5 receptions in the first game, 7 targets, 4 receptions last week. So, I mean, look, he just has to basically hold what he's doing now to go over this pretty easily, one would think. So you're in a good position there. Next one here, I think, is controversial. Mitch Trubisky, 188.5 passing yards. Now, look, you're going to have to sell me on the over on this one.
All right. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that our projection wizards at Betting Pros have Trubisky projected for 212. So not just a little bit, but a lot of it. I think that Trubisky, looking at he's got to have a decent game to hold this job. If not, Pickett is going to be seen pretty soon under center.
I think maybe you wait for Pickett. Like if you don't get Pickett tonight, then I can understand Pickett tonight and then the Jets. But after that, I don't think you toss them to Buffalo or Tampa. I think you
No,
wait
no,
a little
no.
bit while after that.
And that's part of it. I think Trubisky plays well in this spot, but considering how bad the Browns secondary has been in the last few games. So with that and the downgraded pass rush, I think that Trubisky's going to have time. And if I'm telling you, you're ladder betting this kind of stuff. Like we're talking about Deontay overs. We're talking about Pickens overs. We're talking about Pat Freiermuth's overs. Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to lead me to, yes, I believe in Trubisky's overs. And it's scary because I am not a Mitch Trubisky stan, never have been, not going to be, not going to have it. But chase matchups, man, chase low lines. And considering all of that, I think this one's too low. And our betting pros projections handily agree with me.
194 in the first game for Trubisky, 168 last week against New England. We'll see. You mentioned the secondary for Cleveland did not play well last week. They certainly, especially in the fourth quarter, things did not go very well there. I think we can agree on that. And I just think Cleveland shows up here. I think they recognize last week was a complete debacle. I think you've got to show up in this game, and especially when the Steelers are weak. You got to take advantage of those moments because they haven't been very weak in a very long time, and now they are. And I think Cleveland kind of smells that blood in the water. If you had to go bet on somebody for the anytime touchdown prop, just out of curiosity, would that be Nick Chubb? Would that be Kareem Hunt? Do you want to take some better odds there? Because I'm sure, you're looking at odds, you're getting better odds on somebody like Kareem Hunt, but Kareem Hunt gets more opportunity there than people realize, despite the fact that Chubb took all of them last week.
Yeah, I'm with betting on a Kareem Hunt touchdown. I think the matchup serves it right, as well as even if we factor in weather here again, I think that Hunt's going to score today. So if I'm going to chase one of them, his lines are never right. It's almost like they try to like whisk away the fact that he has a red zone role that's just as good as Chubb's, if not many weeks better. So yes, I love the Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown.
All right, if you want to play the wind narrative here, 84.5 is the rushing yards for Nick Chubb, projected at 87.5. Would you go over or under?
So the line and everything, and Nick Chubb leans me to take the over. I'm actually going to go the under on this one. I think Steelers are going to clamp down because just like everybody else, what do we all think? If you were to ask some random schmo off the street and say, how does Cleveland try to win the game? They're going to have to try to run the ball, right? Okay, well, they can't really pass the ball. It's Jacoby Brissett, blah, 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 blah. Do we not think that the Steelers' defensive coaches and their coordinators know that? So you marry that with a really good Steelers run defense this year, and I think Nick Chubb is going to hit the under.
Okay, fair enough. One more question for you. Najee Harris, I'm sure a lot of people are looking at him right now kind of underwhelmed by what they've seen the first 2 weeks, and I understand. He had 2 receptions in week 1. He had 5 receptions last week. His number's at 3.5. Now, I know it's kind of spot on here for the projections, but if indeed wind is a factor, and we're talking about more checkdowns instead of throwing the ball downfield, is this Najee Harris number possibly more appealing than people realize? Because you're getting a good number. You're getting plus 139 on this one right now.
It's probably a stay away. If I'm going to bet anything, I would take the over. And the reason I say it's a stay away is not everything you laid out, Joe, is absolutely right. The wind, all these different things, checkdowns. The reason I worry about Najee is, yes, he got 20 touches last week, but nobody realizes that his route rate dropped huge. He only ran a route on 51% of dropbacks. That is not Najee Harris-esque. So he got targets, but if he doesn't get a high target per route rate, which happened last week, we could see his targets kind of disappoint just based off of just volume of routes.
Question here in the chat. Do you think the carries for Najee and Chubb are better than the yardage totals? I actually do, especially when it comes to Najee. I'd rather go with the attempts than the yardage because the yardage has been a problem. Play calling's been bad. Offensive line has been bad. So the Najee side, I would definitely go that route. Chubb, I think, is more of a stay away for me. I think those numbers are too close. Would you agree?
I didn't look at their numbers, their carry totals.
Carry numbers here. Let's pull it up here. I've got, let's see, receiving yards, rushing attempts. I have to pull it up here again. Rushing yards for Najee is 54.5. That's where his number is. Okay. Again, that's kind of spot on wherever you think really he's close. Been. So I can't get too excited about that. I'll tell you what, of all the things too, as you're get excited about in terms of looking for a good number and all the things that we're talking about, especially when it comes to Kareem Hunt, the 15.5 receiving yards, you're getting a minus 110, but There's another number on Kareem Hunt here too that I found, the 2.5 receptions. You can get plus 115 over at BetMGM on that.
Toss
To
that
me,
in,
I think
maybe.
that's a much better plus number. I will take that to the bank. Hopefully you can take some of these things to the bank too. Make sure you subscribe to Betting Pros YouTube channel so you know every time the live stream drops. And of course, make sure you go check out bettingpros.com and all of our amazing content there as well. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Derek Brown, I'm Joey P. Enjoy the Thursday Night Football, my friends. We'll see you next time.